Welcome y'all to another Skip Barber race. This week we're at Le Mans. Oh yeah, they have the flyover at the start here. I forgot about that. And it's a bit warmer than some of our races in the past have been at 108 degrees track temp, which actually puts it closer to what it was, I think, last season for default weather. So a couple things that may be of interest if you haven't raced at this track before. For qual, you get exactly one shot. Here we go. They start you away a little bit like at the start of the straight for where the entry to pit lane is.
Green. You've got
That was quick.
to go.
Your first lap is your flying qualifying lap. You don't have time to do another one. And the way you notice the qualifying times, kind of like two packs, unless they were sandbagging a bit.
You are an idiot, my friend. A really big idiot.
Okay. So that was fun. I think a lot of people probably kind of take the a little bit more cautiously. It's another thing we learned
Clear on the right.
at this track last season.
Right side. Clear on the right.
Is you gain a lot of your final speed at the end of the strip, it seems. I think that's because that's pretty much when everybody starts pegging out. So if you've been like sitting back, then get all your draft speed then.
Left side.
So like this person's gonna have a hard time passing because they pulled out too early.
To the right. Clear on the left. Go left. Sorry.
And one of the big things we've been working on this week is just smoother braking or better braking and not locking it up and really trying to do smoother shifting. It's kind of worked and not. I know I could probably go ahead and pass, but I'm more than willing to let these folks kind of figure it out. That was a bit slow, though. I also know we got the guy behind us just waiting. And we will want to get in on this game a bit.
Car on your left.
Otherwise, we're going to get left behind.
Still there. Hold your line. Clear. What are you doing? What was that, man?
I had missed my braking point, but I also stayed over to the right.
I don't get crash. I mean, really.
Okay, I didn't touch him,
Don't drive over your head.
and I kept over to the right. To make sure that I didn't catch anybody up since I did miss my braking point. I may have, however, spooked him there.
Obviously, I'm going to slow down when the car to the right of me is getting loose coming off the track.
Oh, he got hit from behind. Okay. So, not necessarily my fault. I didn't help the situation. And speaking of not spinning tires as much,
5 minutes 14.674. You're in fourth position.
not the way I exactly really want to start the race. And those little markers there are not a suggestion. Don't remember if you'll get a black flag for it. They do like to do that a lot, though. Kind of like how at Imola. There's that spot after that last chicane. And unfortunately, where we are now is if we let the people in front of us get away, they're going to take off without us.
Car's the leader.
So we want to try to make sure we stay with them. Because they're going to help us increase the gap behind us. And yes, I know I could be more aggressive here. I just have not had a chance to do any side-by-side practice here yet. So I've been just focusing on trying to get a decent lap in, but also just some consistency with that. I have a really hard time with these straights. It just gives me so much time to think about other things. And unfortunately, I think we let them get away too much with their mistake there. Because we're not really going to be feeling the draft. And they're doing a pretty good job of just drafting. And they're waiting and they're timing it right, so they're getting a pretty good jump before they go to pass. So they can basically get back in line. It's one of the harder turns for me to be consistent at. And as a note, the green stuff out there on the outside, not the grass, but the AstroTurf looking stuff, is just like it is in Assetto Corsa and is ice. And you'll get an off track being over there too. So would not recommend. Since it's a bit warmer, you actually have to lift a bit more to get that turn to work out for you. And in that spot right there, I know there's a few times where I was doing something different. Yeah, I was able to catch up. That's nice. Don't need to force the issue quite yet. But in that last sector, it's funny, I guess the last turn before the chicanes, I've actually been gaining upwards of like 1.3 seconds in that turn. The only problem after that is how much time I'm going to lose through the chicanes, which has been very frustrating. It's not a question of if. I unfortunately cut a little grass there and had to lift. Speaking of,
They say you cut the course. You'll have
well,
to slow down and give
we
up
lost that
some
pack.
gains.
See what I mean though? It doesn't take much. They're sticklers about that here. And what little licks of the draft I was getting before, I will not be seeing any of now. And you really, really want to get rid of this before this braking zone. I see Kim back there. He was the red car in front of us on lap 1 through this section. He was also... he actually had pole. I need to go back and look and see what happened there that caused him to lose pole. Or to drop back to us. But you can see now how we were 2 seconds before entering the chicanes, and now we're almost 4 seconds down. Last time we were able to gain quite a bit of ground on him through here. Not sure if it's going to be enough to get back up to him though again. That's a pretty big gap to close. It's like something happened to Oakley behind us. As far as our race laps and default afternoon default weather, we're able to get down to like a 5:02.5. Darn. But you can also see it doesn't take much there either. The track limits are not to be trifled with here. And be careful on this blue wall. Because I know in race last season, I hit it and just was very confused as to why. Apparently, that curb is very deceiving in its size. And while it looks like you should be able to, like, touch it without touching the wall, I don't think I ever was able to do that. I don't think I've ever been able to do that.
You got 2 laps to go.
Yeah, so the green stuff there doesn't seem to be anywhere near as bad as the other one by the hairpin, which is weird.
3.965.
You don't get an off track for using it, nor does it feel slick. I missed my turn in there. Okay, now that we've just lost the front pack, doesn't mean we can start making mistakes. Because we have a group behind us now. And if they're smart, they can work together to get past us. Can't tell if they're going side by side or actually trying to draft one another. So one thing I've been trying to work on to help me shift smoother is to actually start that first shift earlier. Or at least try to. But I'm still hesitant to really do it too soon because I want to give it that slight break. Give a chance for the RPMs to come down or to slow down a little bit before dropping down a gear. However, dropping from 5th to 4th probably isn't as important as when I'm dropping down to 2nd. As you can hear, the engine is very unhappy about it. Something I thought about in a little bit of warm-up I had earlier or before this race was I should try starting with that in 3rd and then breaking down to 2nd right before the apex. Probably overturning and getting on the gas late there. That's another thing. I've been trying to roll on the gas better. I tried it in the past, and I swear it never really helped much. But it may have been because I was either... my driving line probably wasn't consistent enough for me to really be able to get to tell the difference. And I was probably doing it too slow. Okay, that felt much better than I've been able to do it so far this season. At exit, not so much. Had to wait way too long before I could start getting on the gas again. We do seem to be keeping a pretty good gap between us and the person behind us, though. As long as we don't make any really big mistakes, we should be alright. I swear that wall is deceiving, or that curb is deceiving in size. And I know I'm not doing something right there, because I think I'm either turning in too late or too early. But I found that even that really terrible kind of approach and waiting on the gas is still a lot faster than trying to push it.
White flag, one more left to go. Five minutes, 2.394.
Huh. Better than my fastest lap. That's another one that rolling on definitely works a little bit better. So I did change something for my setup. Actually changed two things at the advice of someone that's showing me squiggly lines. And as an engineer, you know I love me some squiggly lines. They're like crack. And another cut.
They say you cut the course. You'll have to slow down and give up the time gained.
I overdid that one a bit just to get it done. I'd rather not mess it up with as close as we are to the end. And with still such a pretty good gap behind us, we should be okay. And fortunately, since they are not working together, it's not going to gain a whole lot through here on me. But he was pointing out that it seems like the car was set too high. And I tried lowering it at Summit Point. And I think I ended up lowering it by like 1 tick. Because any more than that, and it seemed like it was dragging all over the place when before it wasn't. But as you can hear now, there's a couple places where braking it bottoms out. And another interesting thing I noticed is on my last practice lap, on one of the straights, I was actually... Not sure if that was any better. I was actually losing speed to my best lap, like near the end of the straight, when, you know, that shouldn't be happening, especially since I was on my last lap of fuel. It was weird. Normally on something like this, whatever you make a mistake for, and then once you get back on the gas, it usually stays about the same unless you're doing something crazy. And I was just going in a straight line. And I don't think I was off to the sides in the really bumpy places. And since the tank was nearly empty, I mean, I know it wasn't a weight thing. And I think I see one of my big problems there, is the way I'm entering that is not very good. Yeah, that's another one you should probably roll on to, or at least wait just a hair bit second to let off from the turn in so you're not trying to shift the weight over so much, or you at least get some more weight on the inside wheel, and the inside wheel. But my entry there is upsetting the car and getting it a little loose. By the time I start braking, I'm still loose. So a more conservative entry would probably be better. And if you go past those rumble strips, that's a cutting penalty. They really like them here. I'm guessing this is a third gear turn in and not first, which is why I'm losing so much time here all the time.
Can't stop on the right.
Oh well. Turned into a bit of a podcast there. Not a bad finish.
All right, there's the checkered flag. Great job, kid.
So when I went back and looked, I don't know why he thought I was getting loose, but I took a bit more curb than he expected. He thought I wasn't going to be able to hold it there. Then he was trying to give a lot more room and be more defensive about it, which put him in a really bad spot, so he had to brake more. And then he got rear-ended by the guy behind him. So it was kind of unfortunate for him. So one of the more interesting things you should take note of is the fact that I got 2 cutting penalties and still only had 1 1-ets. I think we would have had some pretty solid 502s in there if we didn't get the cutting penalties. Otherwise, tomorrow, I think what I'm going to work on is some more experimenting with certain gears on certain turns, like especially the chicane. But something to mess with, and I absolutely need to practice the racing lines more. With that, if you like, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike. If you have any questions, suggestions, feedback, or advice, drop it in the box below. Good luck in your races, and y'all take it easy.